Welcome to the Everything is Better with Creators podcast. It is Hispanic Heritage Month, and we're celebrating by introducing you to some of Whalar's most popular Hispanic creators. Today, we're sitting down with Johnny Morales. Johnny makes super funny videos that draw on his Mexican heritage. They often feature him joking about growing up as a Mexican American, or lightheartedly teasing his mom, or introducing his girlfriend to some of Mexico's more exotic foods. And while he's always up for a laugh, Johnny is also passionate about elevating the voices of young people and inviting everyone to embrace one another's cultures and background. And it seems to be working, as Johnny has more than 3.3 million followers on TikTok and 136 million likes. Welcome to this episode of Everything is Better with Creators. I'm Ashley Rudder, your guide to all things happening in the creator economy. Every week, myself or my colleagues Emma Harmon or Jamie Goodfriend will be hosting this podcast. So let's give him a warm welcome and find out how the magic comes together. All right, DJ, let's hit him with that intro.
Everything is Better with Creators, the podcast that takes a deep dive into all things creator economy. Produced and presented by Whalar. Whalar, we power the creator economy. With your hosts Ashley Rudder, Emma Harmon, Jamie Goodfriend, and Marco Bertozzi.
I am the creator. And this is fresh.
Oh my goodness. Welcome to Everything is Better with Creators, Johnny. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm pumped to be a part of this conversation.
Oh my gosh. I'm beyond pumped. I'm sure the followers and our listeners are so over me because I get so hyped every episode, and they are constantly hearing me say how excited I am to see a name on our schedule. And it's here I go again, fam. Here I go again. I'm sorry. I saw Johnny Morales on the schedule and I was like, yes, I cannot wait to talk to him about all of the things, because your TikToks and your Instagram, the YouTube, the whole 9 yards is so captivating. And I'm just very excited to hear what you have to share, because you can tell, even though everything seems so effortless, I know that there's a lot of intention and direction behind it. And so I can't wait for you to share all that insight. So you ready to do this thing?
Oh yeah, I'm super excited. Let's do it.
Cool. So we are loving to dig into origin stories. And so I want to hear yours. And please give me all of the color, all of the flavor, and of course, drop any bits and pieces that you felt like were defining moments along the way.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I was born and raised in a town called Wilmington, North Carolina, still currently here today. And I guess the best way of starting, growing up, the thing that stood out the most was just kind of the split between the culture that I grew up in, which was with my family, which is Hispanic, or more specifically Mexican culture. And grew up speaking Spanish at home, did the whole my family's full out Mexican, celebrating, all the big things that my parents would celebrate and back home whenever before they migrated over. And then I have 3 sisters. So home is just loud, but a lot of fun. No brothers. So if you ask my sisters, they say I'm spoiled. If you ask me, I would just say that I am very blessed.
I love the twist and the spin on that storyline, but feeling that.
Exactly. But I just noticed that aspect of life. And then also the totally contrast, American culture when it came to going to school or growing up in the community that I lived in, which is predominantly white. But the only reason I felt that difference was because of how kind of the dynamic that my family had, and then the dynamic my friends would have in school. And so I always try to figure it out, if that makes sense. I would always try to figure out, why is there kind of like a tug back and forth.
So you didn't have that struggle with, again, I've been hearing a few storylines around, people family members not wanting to speak Spanish or learn Spanish, but I'm hearing that was different with your family. Was there a reason why that is, or do you feel like it's a generational moment?
Yeah, I would say, I think my parents have always been very just encouraging people when it comes to meeting people. Like they've never been afraid of making relationships with people. And I mean, there is a scary thing to stepping into a new environment that's totally new, like going to another country and not really having much of a ground other than the person that you came with or the clothes on your back. And so I think that I mean, they came here and were just ready, for new opportunities. And I think that they were able to kind of encourage me to pursue opportunities as well. And I mean, they've always been there for me when it came to school and, like academics. Like even if they couldn't understand my homework, they would still stay up with me till like 2 a.m. to do homework with me. I would just say it came, the only more of the tension came from like maybe wanting to do what my friends were doing, which was like sleepovers or, like hanging out past like a certain time, but not being allowed to because my parents were scared of me being out past sunset.
I can always tell that there's, moments that you want a culture shift or, code switch whenever appropriate. But I'm just happy to hear that you've always felt comfortable and in flexing in those moments. And it was up to you and that you were able to have like all of the skill sets. And it was really just whenever you felt like you wanted to flex up or flex down, you had the choice to do so. That's so great.
Right. Yeah. No, I think not like identifying those two, I guess, different forces of, like whether it's like the cultures being different and like figuring out how to navigate the two, that I think that's where I started seeing consistency and wanting to learn how to bridge the gap between the two cultures. Cause I mean, there was aspects where sometimes I didn't feel like I was Mexican enough or American enough, or other people would say like, you can't be fully Mexican if you're not living in Mexico or speaking Spanish perfectly, or are you actually American if like your family's looks this way. And I think, I think just a huge theme in my life has been learning how to bridge differences in the two of those. And I think that ultimately reflects in my content. And so
within all of this, when did content creation become a moment for you, like beyond just expressing yourself on social, but and then transitioning into something more serious?
I think my earliest memory of really content taking over my life was, I would say, with YouTube. So I was born in 2001, which means that when YouTube rolled out, it was 2005. So I was 4 or 5, which is old enough to, hold a phone or a laptop and like pull up YouTube and like watch videos. So I think I was maybe on the youngest side of the first people that were on YouTube. So I really just like, my first memories were watching music videos and watching the same, watching the same music videos over and over that my older sisters were watching. And then eventually watching YouTubers who were doing like skits or just things that were just like basically their own little TV show on something called YouTube, and just being captivated for hours and hours, watching random YouTube videos. And so that kind of inspired me. So my parents, little fun fact, my parents used to have a restaurant when I was in elementary school. But they also had this like little room behind the restaurant where I got to like play basically. Like while my parents were like, grinding and making food and helping customers, I was in the back, just like on my laptop. And, I think we had like one laptop for our whole family. My sister would do homework on it. And then when she was because my sister also helped my parents at the restaurant, then I would go on YouTube on the laptop. And basically on this laptop, we had, I forget what it's called, but it was basically like you could film like little videos on it and like put filters on it. And so I would remember just like randomly recording videos and like pretending to like, hey guys, welcome to my channel. Like, and then my little sister would also, hang out with me. So we would just like do little skits, and we would sing like covers of songs and do karaoke and just like record the videos. And actually, I'm definitely not going to tell you the name of my old YouTube account because it's embarrassing, but I have 5 random YouTube videos uploaded of when I was like 7 or 8. And it was just me singing covers of Bruno Mars. I was singing Billionaire. I just remember doing those videos and being silly and posting like 5 YouTube videos. And so I always showed a huge interest in wanting to express myself through video, but also just having fun and like consuming out of like just pure like wholesome, like wanting to like have fun. Because I mean, again, I wasn't allowed to go, to sleepovers till 2 a.m. So I would stay watching YouTube videos till 2 a.m. And make friends that way, I guess you could say, like friends with the people that I had never met. I mean, as in with the creators themselves, like these people have no idea who I am, but I feel like I'm making friends with, the YouTubers that I'm watching. And I think that ultimately fled into, with school and like school projects. So I remember like asking my teachers like for projects, instead of having to do a presentation or like write a paper, I'd beg my teachers to let me make a video of some kind for my projects. And teachers would, I think I grew up in a community where the teachers were really like encouraging on that, at least my specific teachers. That's why I love the idea of going back and volunteering with them someday. But I think I definitely
they were open to that, like, because that's not like that wasn't a part of the regular curriculum. Like kids weren't just like turning in like video essays, but you were like, "Can I do this?" And they were like, "Sure,
yeah,
go for it."
I think they loved just how different it was, and then because I wasn't doing the videos alone. Like if I was assigned like a group project and I like initiated like, "Let's do a video, guys," then all the students would get to be a part of that, and so like it wasn't just like they were like helping me, but they were also like introducing it to other students too. But anyway, just I saw that being a common theme as well. And then I really think just ultimately just being immersed in like, keeping up with videos on YouTube and anything that was like with storytelling, through just like using your phone. I think that's why TikTok just naturally like called my attention. And I just thought it was like a really fun app that like was just, it was silly in the moment, but it was something fun to talk about with your friends. And you could talk about a video for hours and hours and try to recreate them.
I'm loving that. And I'm also loving this common thread of, it just sounds like you've always been a gatherer of people, that you always have been someone that, builds bridges and creates space for other people to participate and have fun with you. I'm not getting an exclusive vibe from you at all, Johnny, that you're like all are welcome if they're game. And I'm loving, again, that's like carrying over to this as well.
Yeah, I would say with like making content or videos, I feel like it's impossible to do it by yourself. Just even thinking about like who's watching your videos, like you can make the videos yourself. You can be the only one in them and be the one filming and be the one editing and be the one uploading. But at the end of the day, someone has to watch that content, unless you're just keeping it to yourself, which I would say kind of defeats the purpose of creating something. Maybe not necessarily, but in the sense of wanting to share something that you care about, there's people that want to, connecting with people is sharing. And so if you're not sharing that content, then you're not going to have an opportunity to connect with someone. So yeah, I think from creating and then also the viewers, there's that aspect, but then it's even more fun when you bring people into the process of creating whatever you're making.
Again, I love how your brain works. Not everyone's brain works that way, and that's okay. But I love that you're just like, I can't even contemplate like having content that doesn't have more people in it. And I love it. I absolutely love it. Like, tell me how did Whalar walk into your existence, and like, what's the story there? Because again, like I'm seeing like you've blown up so much, and there's like obviously like a very clear path that happens or a moment that happens where you're like, I need help.
Yeah. So I think maybe fast forward a year of making content specifically on TikTok. The first year was just grasping how to even, have that first video go viral. And I'm seeing some patterns on how to, keep that audience. And now that I'm making content, like original content, I was introduced to monetizing from brands that reached out saying like, hey, would you be interested in being an ambassador? And then the next conversation was, hey, here's this flat rate that we can give you for one video. And so I would say the second year was really learning how to navigate monetizing on my account, kind of on my own, in the sense of like driving the vehicle of, how I'm going to negotiate with brands, how I'm going to, do the whole process of, emailing them, creating the content, going back and forth on, doing drafts, making sure that I'm posting the way they want me to post, while also staying true to, my content. And really, I just dived all into that. I really wanted to grasp that on my own. I truly was afraid of like giving up some of that authority to someone else without me feeling like I could understand it for myself. Because otherwise I wouldn't know what, you don't know what you don't know,? And so I wanted to know as much as I could, so that way I could trust someone else in that. So honestly, I was getting emails from, random managers or agencies, but I definitely wasn't interested in kind of initiating that relationship yet, because I still didn't feel comfortable, giving that up. But I will say then kind of after a year of kind of doing it on my own, I'm a big believer in God's timing. And I think Whalar stepped in exactly when I needed that help. And just more specifically, shout out to my manager now, Brendan. Brendan. Just even more specifically. So there's Whalar, of course, but then the person behind kind of the relationship, the relationship that I have that's one-on-one, and getting to actually, someone who's spending time, getting to know who I am as a creator, beyond just my content, but just also my life. He knows about, my family. He knows about, what I'm passionate about beyond just videos. He knows my favorite types of food, and he knows he knows my schedule with school. He knows that I want to prioritize school. So Brendan really, from the get-go, wanted to get to know who I was. And that's one thing that stood out about Whalar and Brendan was I didn't feel like I was just being added to a roster, or just being added to, just another, 50 people that are already being managed by the same person, which would ultimately feel like a competition of am I getting the most attention out of these 50 people for the sake of my quote unquote business or even my platform? Or am I just going to ultimately reduce, opportunities for signing with someone who doesn't really even understand who I am? They may know Johnny from the videos that they see, but do they actually have a relationship with me? And so I met Brendan. Actually, I was fortunate enough to meet him in person the first time I met with him. It was my first time in LA. Shout out to Leo Gonzalez. He's another TikToker who is absolutely crushing it on the platform. So he showed me around. He was showing me around town when I went to visit for the first time. And then my second time visiting, he told his manager, which is Brendan, that I was going to be in town. And little did I know that Brendan had slid into my emails 3 or 4 months before. And I missed it because I was, I was telling you, I was focused on learning it for myself. But again, God's timing, we were able to reconnect for the first time truly in person. And so I'm really glad it worked out the way it did, because we got lunch together in LA, and got to meet him in person and kind of understand kind of what he does. And also his background too was super important to me, because his background, he's worked with some really cool companies, shout out to Univision. He worked for, Spanish speaking network, and he knows people in the industry. That just makes sense to be kind of in the loop of the circles that I'm in. It wouldn't make sense for me to have a manager who, lives on the other side of the country when, if I'm sleeping, he's awake. And when he's awake, I'm trying to do my homework at midnight. There's just going to be no compatibility with schedules. So, and even though I'm on the East Coast, Whalar and Brendan, my relationship with Whalar, them being on, I guess more specifically, Brendan being on the West Coast, it still works. Even though there's a 3-hour difference, it actually kind of works out great, because when I wake up, let's say I wake up at 7, Brendan's still sleeping, so I can grind out, assignments, that I need to get done before he wakes up, and then I just turn it in. And so anyway, it's just little fun things like that work out really well. And I think the last note too that stands out to me with Whalar is just the other creators that are also working with Whalar. I've had, again, the opportunity to meet other creators in person who are signed with Whalar, and I just feel the chemistry with them, like from spending time with them, and it just makes sense how like Whalar attracts creators who have the same goal in mind, which is, making, authentic content, wanting to connect with people, actually interested in getting to know other people's stories. And so I feel like my experience with Whalar has been like exactly what I needed to feel like I wasn't, on my own or alone in the whole process of creating.
I don't just work here. I work here because of the community and the culture also. And I just think that, again, I'm so blessed to work with such talented people, and the Whalar talent team are exceptional, like truly exceptional. Johnny, I'm always seeing your mom in your videos and your girlfriend, and they're incredible. But your mom is out there getting it, dancing. It doesn't matter if it's a quiz, a game. She is up for it. Tell me a little bit about I would love to know like a personal experience that you have, like be it with your mom or anyone else in your family that like really stands out to you about like that was like a super positive experience around your Hispanic culture.
Yeah. Do you mean a specific moment with creating like a video, or do you mean just like
no, just in general? Yeah. Like in general, like yesterday someone shared like they had gone to a soccer game and heard like the Mexican national anthem for the first time, like with that many people, and like made them feel like a certain thing. But it doesn't have to be that grandiose, but it's just like anything that punctuates with you, like a very fond memory that like but centering around your culture.
Yeah. So I would say, so thanks to being a part of TikTok and having the opportunity to just like step into new cities, and just being invited to participate in events that are relevant to things that I care about. Like I think the most what always shocks me is the idea that two states in the U.S. are still the same country, even when they feel like they're different countries. And so more specifically, what I mean by that is I've had my first time going to California and my first time going to Texas was thanks to TikTok related events, or even social media events. And so the reason I bring up specifically like California and Texas is because those are both predominantly, or they have a large community of Hispanic people. And so, and beyond that, in my analytics, like the cool thing is I can see your analytics on TikTok and see where your followers live. I see a large percentage of my followers are in places like Texas and California. And so with me saying this, my first time being there, and my first time going to Texas and California, I went with, my first time going to California, I went with AC. And then I just went to Texas recently with her for the second time. My second time, it was her first time. And in both of those trips, we've ran into essentially people who watch our content regularly. And those conversations are always just so much fun because it ends up being so much more than just, hi, I love your videos. Can we get a picture? Like there's that, aspect of meeting people. But a lot of the times the people that we meet are so much more interested in like it almost feels like we're already friends because they ask about my mom, they ask about our relationship, or they ask me for recommendations on other foods in person. And just again, like for more background, like with making videos with a lot of food, I almost feel like I'm like entrusted on, like delivering that to people. Like people like come to me or even AC or my mom and ask us for like recommendations, just because that's kind of like some of the content that a lot of people recognize us for. And so it's just so cool getting to step into like a totally unknown territory on the other side of the country, and people still trusting, us with, their time. Or like I know people that have driven hours to go eat at a restaurant that we've gone to. And then actually just an extra, special thing that like I've noticed from like something that's just been super memorable is getting to talk to restaurant owners. And them telling me that because of us making a video at the restaurant, they're getting more business from people in surrounding counties or areas, and like people driving to go see, specifically their dish at their restaurant. So it's just always memorable whenever it goes beyond just like people, wanting to like meet us. Cause I mean, that's fun, of course, but there's something so much more special when you get to be a part of something bigger than yourself, which is, helping other businesses, helping other people on their passions and connecting them in that way. So like, hopefully people are becoming regulars at these restaurants. Like I may have introduced them to the restaurant, but I hope they build a relationship with those restaurants by going there regularly, and getting to eat there. So yeah, I would say that just stands out right now in the moment as we're talking.
I do have a question about representation. Is there a person, anyone, it could be anyone, past, present, anywhere in there, in between, that is like a part of the Hispanic community that, really influenced you or had a positive impact on you that you'd like to like shed light on or give thank you for their contribution to the Hispanic community? Yeah.
I think someone who immediately sticks out is a pastor at my church. And he is, so kind of like the way the structure at my church works. Yeah. I would say I go to a pretty large church in my town. And but this pastor specifically, he focuses on, connecting the the people that go to our church to other organizations in our community. So instead of just being like in the walls of the church should be able to step out into the community and be, the church isn't the building, the church is the people. And so he just focuses on, local missions and connecting with people. And so I say all of this because so he was kind of one of the first people that kind of really poured into me as I was kind of starting my walk with God. And he, and he he is Hispanic. And again, I live in a predominantly like white community. And so him already being, me kind of relating to him on that level of like culture, but then going beyond that, and kind of relating on, our relationship with God, I would say that those two things, he's kind of showed me a lot of the importance of just loving on people, going beyond the labels of culture, and identity. I think there's something really like powerful about people connecting with, communities that are very specific. So that way they have something to connect to. But I think the thing that connects absolutely anyone, regardless of what you identify culturally or even other labels that are common, I would say that the most important label, which I would say is like, it's so funny, like giving, like it's saying it's a label, because labels are meant to, kind of like, not divide, but more to like,
sort.
Yes, yeah, that's a great word. Yeah.
Yes.
And so I think the thing that connects absolutely everyone is the idea of being human beings. And human beings, I think we all have something in common, which is just the longing to connect with people, and the longing to be known as people, as a person. People like we long for people to know our stories, and we long for people to, know who we are. And so I would say that his name's Javi, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned his name.
I love it. Yeah, shout out to Javi.
Yeah, shout out to Javi. Javi has just been a a walking example of, how to, connect with people, while still, we do relate on that, background of being Hispanic, but he goes beyond that. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't get tied up on the labels of it, or he doesn't get tied up on, just like, okay, these are my people, these are your people. You do this differently, I do this differently. Like he's not like that. It's really cool to see how he encourages people to just connect, and nurture just like what they're struggling with. And so, yeah, I would say Javi sticks out a lot because, Yeah, he's just a great example of someone who, loves people, period. It all comes back to that, is learning how to love people.
So good. I love that. Again, like, shout out to all the pastors in our lives that at every stage, because like they set such beautiful examples. And again, love that is your person that has like stood out so clearly to you that you want to thank. So tell me this, you and AC are doing it big. I love, again, the fact that you all speak so beautifully and without it being forced about the meshing of two cultures. Like, how has that been? And was that something that just you were very intentional about, or did it start organically? But just tell me about that piece, because I think it's, again, such a beautiful part of your content as well.
Yeah, I would definitely say it was very organic on how it started, in the sense of like how the content's created. And so just more specifically, so my first video that ever went viral, I have the pleasure of saying that was just me pulling out my phone and hitting record on what was going on live in the room. Like, it was not premeditated. I don't even think my mom or my girlfriend AC knew that I was recording our first video that went viral. And so just for some background on what that video was, it was, so me, my girlfriend, and my mom, we hang out all the time, but this moment we were just hanging out in my room. And this sounds so bad but my AC was actually like, she was like folding my laundry for some reason. I think I was like doing homework and she was just being sweet and like doing my laundry. And
that's so sweet.
And then all of a sudden I see my mom just like run over to us with this piece of paper. And on the piece of paper, it said a bunch of random English words, like just, it wasn't a cohesive sentence. They were just random, kindergarten phrase words. And I was like, what is this? And when I read the paper in my head, I realized that it actually said something. It actually made a whole sentence in Spanish. And this sentence was kind of like, it was really funny, but it was, kind of inappropriate. Like, it was like a good chuckle. And I was like, what are you doing with this? What are you doing with this paper? And she was like, I'm going to make AC read it. And I'm like, oh gosh, like, this is going to be hilarious. So I just pull out my phone and start recording it, because I just love capturing moments like that. And so I was, and then in the video just goes, it's my mom going, AC, read this. And she reads it out loud. And so it ends up saying, I have beans in my butt. But it's a butt, it's a, not butt. And so it's just AC reading 10, go, free, whole, les, and then like saying it. And then my mom just like starts dying of laughter. Like the classic, like, hilarious, like someone like dies of laughter and then it just cuts.
Yes.
It was that. It was one of those videos. And so I post that video on TikTok thinking like no one's going to get it. Maybe 10 people who speak Spanish will think this is funny, like it, and move on with their life. And I post that video. I go rock climbing with one of my small group leaders on my church. And then an hour later, I open my phone and the video has like 4 million followers. I mean, sorry. I open my phone and the video has 4 million views. And whoa. I'm like, what is going on? And the comments are like I've never seen that many laughing emojis in a comment section ever. And just people like think it's like super funny and one of my favorite parts too was that people were commenting what my mom said in English for people who couldn't understand Spanish. So not only could like Spanish speakers understand it, but now anyone at this point could understand it. And even if you couldn't understand it when you watched the video, it was intriguing enough to want to know what was going on.
What's going on? Yes.
So I think that first example of like this very organic moment that was captured in time really set the stage of us wanting to make more content that wants to make people laugh, that wants to connect people to things that maybe not everyone can relate to, but actually, no, I think anyone can relate to it, but it's more of like the specifics of like, okay, maybe I don't understand Spanish, but I have a friend from this other country where I've had a similar moment where we laughed at something because of a language barrier. And so, yeah, it just really kind of like started the domino effect of like, okay, let's make content that, has these themes. And then of course, like, I think the first year it was a lot of like me hitting record and like, because we would hang out all the time and my mom would like make us food and I would just record it. Now that I'm in college, or like getting in the thick of like college and like, my mom like exploring like, her passions, then it's just, now we're in a cool place where we get to kind of connect together and like, all right, like, hey, like what skit do we want to do today, and focus more on that aspect of things. Or like, me and my girlfriend pranking my mom. So like, we're still in on it together, and sure, it's premeditated, but my mom has no idea what we're about to do to her.
Of course.
So yeah, it comes to a place where like, even though this is something that I like am regularly pursuing to do, and have to like, be like, okay, like I want to make a video today. There's still opportunity to like have authentic moments within your content.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Johnny, for all of this insight and inspiration. It's been so wonderful getting to know you better. Please, 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 like keep crushing it. I know you will.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. I really appreciate this.
We hope you've enjoyed what you've heard and will come along with us as we navigate this journey to the promised land of the creator economy. Make sure to subscribe or follow our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or wherever you like to listen to audio. And of course, we'd love a rating and review if you get the opportunity. And special thanks to Johnny Morales for joining us. Make sure to check out more from Whalar and all things at the intersection of a talent network, brand partnerships, technology, and creativity at Whalar.com. Get active in the Whalar community by following us on Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. For Everything is Better with Creators, I'm Ashley Rudder. Catch you next time.
You see, I am the creator.
Everything is Better with Creators is produced by Whalar. Whalar, we power the creator economy. Learn more at whalar.com.